Welcome to Through the Looking Glass. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the state of America. Obviously, America's not a state, it's a country, but the state of things in the country. But before we do that, as always, I'm going to hand it on over to Russ.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Through the Looking Glass podcast. Just a bunch of guys sitting down talking about different things going on in the culture and the world and everything. Like Adam said, today's going to be a little bit interesting, talking about the state of America, politics, things like that. The fact that Ben Shapiro is #1 rapper in the country.
Crazy. Crazy.
So please like, share, comment, subscribe, and let us know how our new intro and outro is, because we're going to be throwing those on today. So we'll see you.
At this point, with Ben Shapiro being in a rap song that's #1 in the country, I'm convinced we live in a simulation. I'm convinced none of this is real.
You think he's going to do a second?
No.
You could tell the look on his face. He hated it. He hated it.
I mean, that's the look he always has on his face.
I think
When they
somebody
make
will
him-
convince him to do another one.
When they make him watch
have a-
TikToks, he has that same exact look on his face. Like, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah, but at least he laughs at the TikToks every once in a while. I don't know. It's going to be so weird, man. So weird. I don't understand why they did it. Like,
Because why not? Sometimes you got to do
Yeah.
things outside of the ordinary.
maybe.
I mean, it worked for him.
mean,
Number
yeah, why
one on
not do it?
iTunes.
It could be like a culture clash thing. Like, Ben Shapiro is uptight, super intellectual,
Yeah.
as
Almost the
far
complete
like
opposite.
Yeah,
Tweeted
straight
long-
conservative.
Tweeted long ago that rap music isn't music.
Yeah. And then we got Tom McDonald, who, like, he's went through a lot of shit in his life. Of course, he has a bunch of tattoos. He's kind of out there, artistic. So it might be like a way to signify how these two polar opposites are still able to sit down, have conversation.
Yeah, they can come
and
together for a
have-
common goal.
Yeah. And it's driving a lot of people crazy. It's really kind of funny to watch. It's not a very good song. It's
Yeah,
Tom's parts are really good.
Yeah,
but
they're not bad.
Ben
I didn't think
is-
it was too good of a song.
Yeah, it's not Tom's best for sure.
And Ben was just entertaining to laugh at. That was
Yeah,
That's
I liked
about
his
it.
hoodie. I liked his hoodie.
It reminded me of the Dare hoodie.
Yeah.
Or
Oh, I
like
think
the-
that's
the
what they
Dare
were going
logo.
for.
Yeah,
okay.
it gave off
That's
that
what they
vibe.
were
Okay.
going for. Same thing. That's what I thought when I first saw it. I was like, does that say? Oh no, it says facts. Don't care about your feelings. Okay.
Yeah.
So weird. So weird.
So I haven't looked up anything new like the last 2 days. I know, didn't the Biden administration send a cease and desist to Texas about the border to hand it back over to Border Patrol?
I believe they did that on like Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, a couple days ago, that's what I
and
heard.
They gave them a 24-hour window, but now they've basically come to an agreement of some kind. You know, both sides are kind of backing down, but it got kind of wild there for a minute. You know, who was it? Abbott. Abbott was, just came out and said, "Listen, this has become more of a problem than we can handle."
Well, what was it? 10 states sent troops in
think it was-
to help secure the border?
10 publicly came out and said, we stand with
Yeah.
Texas.
I thought it was like 23 that said they stand with Texas, but like 10 actually sent.
Yeah,
People
sent
to
troops
help.
down to
Yeah,
Texas
to
to help
help.
secure the border.
Oh, okay.
And
I
you
didn't
can't,
know about that.
I mean,
part.
you can't blame them when you look at the numbers of people coming across that border.
At minimum, what we have documented, 11 million in the last 3 years
That's
that we
insane.
have
Yeah, it's
caught and processed.
It's like 250,000 a month or something like that.
We just had our record month, too, which is
And then-
wild. Like 2 months ago, we had our record numbers.
Did you guys see that video recently of a terrorist that came across the border that was telling the reporter or whoever had the camera that they'll know his name soon?
So that's not 100% confirmed yet, but yeah, where the guy was like,
I did not see that.
it was a tall, slinky guy, and he was like, "You're going to know who I am. Don't worry about it. You'll know. You'll find out." And just kind of
So he
being,
was alluding to it?
Yeah.
or being weird.
A couple people did some digging, and he looks very familiar to a guy in some Middle Eastern country who tried to overthrow the government in like 2002 and spent 11 years in prison, and now he might be here.
Interesting.
So, yeah. But I mean, I don't know. It's a whole lot of emotional blackmail, is from what I see. You know, everybody says they just want a better life. They're just trying to escape cartels, and I'm sure a lot of people are. But there's also a lot of people who are taking advantage of that sympathy.
Yeah,
of yours
absolutely.
And are
Like,
there's
my
cartel
life's
members.
okay. But
Why is there so many Chinese citizens trying to escape cartels?
Chinese and Middle
Yeah.
Eastern. Yeah.
There's been a ton of Chinese. I think the number I
That's
saw
'cause
was
China
like,
sucks.
I thought it was like 23,000 Chinese people have come across the border recently.
There's been reports that a couple of them have been identified as military servicemen.
Mhm.
So
Not surprising.
it's concerning, to say the least. Plus, we've seen the videos. Who knows how true it is, but you just see a sea of men, like
Mhm.
middle-aged men, 20, 30-year-old guys.
Mhm.
Where are the women? Where are the children? And the children that you do see, it's like 6 kids with one grown-ass dude. It's like, you don't see what's happening right there?
So another
That's
thing,
clearly trafficking.
I saw too was the people that are actually from like South America and Mexico that are coming across. They're kind of just sleeping on the path or on the road that they're taking to get to America, while the Chinese people that are coming, they have like these little areas set up along the way where they're actually sleeping in nice comfy beds in buildings, almost as if like the CCP has set these places up for them to go from one point to the next each day to know that they're good and comfortable
Perhaps.
along this journey.
I did see a rumor, I'm going to look it up right now, that the Red Cross in South America was actually handing out pamphlets and things like that, like detailed things to do to get here. So I'm going to look that up.
like what to avoid, where to go.
Yeah.
Don't eat these plants.
You know, obviously I'm no expert on border policy, but I feel like it doesn't take a whole lot of common sense to realize that, you know, just allowing this many people without doing background checks or anything to come across our border just seems like a recipe for disaster. And in the beginning of my psychedelic journey, I understood the idea that, yeah, borders are kind of stupid. We're all human on this planet that we live on. So I get that utopian idea that borders are kind of dumb.
In a perfect world.
In a
Exactly
perfect
what
world.
you said, in a perfect world.
But humans aren't perfect.
We have
so it's
never,
not
will
possible.
never,
Yep.
and
As I
do
progressed,
not live in a perfect world.
as I progressed on my journey and began to actually pay attention to reality more, that's when I'm like, oh yeah, that's a nice fantasy idea, but now I understand why we have those borders.
Yeah, every
because-
country in the world has, or almost
Yeah.
every country in the world has a border. Because if you have too many people coming in that don't speak the language or aren't going to contribute, it's a burden. It is
And
a
just
burden.
culturally, it's weird.
Yeah, they'll
We've seen some videos of illegal immigrants in the UK. Some dude just caught a street cat and was cooking it on the corner because it's just culturally different. They
Tasty.
don't understand how Western civilization has advanced, and you're not allowed to do that. So, but I did find it. So this is from the Washington Examiner. They're, the guides, which were revealed by the Daily Caller News Foundation, show Red Cross entities, the American Red Cross, and the International Committee of the Red Cross were behind a campaign to disseminate detailed instructions for how immigrants from all over the world can most effectively navigate several thousands of miles. So, yeah. I get it. They're humanitarian aid, but you should not be... That's international... That's an international crime. Like, you're telling people how to come into our country illegally. I get it. You're humanitarian aid, but
yeah, they should probably put that effort into trying to make their own country better,
yeah,
livable.
I would 100% understand if we were in World War III, world, you know, and
How do you know we're
South
not?
America, we probably are. But like South America is getting bombed and these people are being displaced because there's literally rubble everywhere. And we were taking in people who were hostages or injured from, you know, mass bombing campaigns. Yeah, I could get it. But these people are just fleeing their country and we don't know why.
I mean, some of it is, especially a lot of places in Mexico where you have the cartel running it, they're dangerous. I mean, you have some of it's like you have a 2, 3, 4% chance of dying just walking down the street. Like you leave your house, you got a 1 in 20 shot of just getting shot.
Yeah, Mexico is rough.
And I understand trying to help the people that are fleeing and the people that are trying to come here, but like just yesterday, I was looking into something where Rhode Island, I believe it was, is building these housing complexes to house the illegal immigrants and to allow them to live there rent free for 2 years. But technically, I mean, it's not rent free. It's our tax dollars that are paying for it for them to live rent free for 2 years. And it's like, we're going to do that for citizens coming here illegally from another country. But what about all the people we have homeless in this country? What about all the homeless veterans? What about people that can't get proper mental care for mental health problems that are living homeless? Like you'd think we'd want to help our own citizens first.
Yeah, I wonder what they would even have to say to that. Like if you went to a committee and asked the people in charge, be like, why not help the homeless instead of the illegals coming over?
They never have
what?
answers for that. They just tell you to leave or your time is up.
That is,
But
yeah.
to bring on point to your thing about Rhode Island, think about the larger implication with that, right? So we're using American tax dollars to pay for this, to do something that was not already in the budget. So we're now going to take millions, possibly billions of dollars to add on a new program for illegal immigrants. So what's going to happen? They're going to have to make up the money somewhere else. So now that they need an extra $1 billion for this program, that means they're going to need more funding or grants from the government.
They're just gonna print
so
more
the
money.
government's going to have to tax everybody more.
Yeah.
So it's like, I get it, but how do we determine who is here for like legitimate reasons? There's no way to know. Do we have intel on every single person and what their life was like in the country that they came here from?
No.
I mean, we might if they have a cell phone. So, but you know, it's just this is unsustainable. We can't allow this to continue happening, and we've been letting it happen for 3 years. And you know, of course, one group of people have been very loud about it. They've been talking about it the whole time. And then the other people are just like, nah, shut up. It's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about it. This and that.
Recently, I've been seeing people that are even aligned with the left side of the political spectrum saying that something needs to be done about the border.
Because it's finally spilled over to the point where they can't ignore it no more. You have communities in Chicago who are speaking up. This is Chicago.
Yeah.
And we're talking about people coming in from the southern border that have made it to Chicago.
Well, even in New York City, there's a big issue with them in New York City as well.
Yeah, where
There was that undercover
it's
investigation.
what, Mayor Adams.
I think that's
I
his
think that's his
name.
name.
Yeah, he started talking about it, but
At
that's
first, it
after
was
the
like
video was released.
you know, our arms are open, come in, and then they were like, "Oh, we just got 1 million people coming in, or
Yep.
500,000."
Oh, now we got to send them the rest
it's
of the
too,
state.
Yeah, it's too many. We have to disperse them. And he's like, "Nope, no more, come in."
Yeah.
It's like,
But there was that undercover investigation with the hotel worker that exposed that like illegal immigrants were being put up in hotels for free. It's wild. Like, I understand, but how are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why? This is one of the biggest problems in our country.
It's a solid question that I can't even really begin to come up with an answer for. That is a good question. Why are we doing this?
They've been ignoring it for 3 years, and they don't have an answer because they have an answer, but they don't want to tell us.
well,
So
I
they've
think
just
it's
been
not
ignoring it.
so much ignoring. It's almost as if they want them to come in.
Yeah, oh yeah.
and
That's
then,
a part of ignoring. They've been deliberately doing it and ignoring our claims
because
that
they
it's
count
happening.
it towards part of it is they count it towards the
Electoral
population,
college. Yeah.
and they
Which is so weird that the American census doesn't go by citizenship, but it goes by just
if you're
flat
there.
population.
Yeah. if you're a body.
Yeah. So if California gains an extra 2 million people, they get an extra electoral seat. That makes no sense. Is it is it a congressional seat or electoral? They get an electoral seat.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
1 per 500,000.
Yeah. So now their
something like
votes
that.
count for more in the presidential election.
Well, I feel
Sounds
like,
kind of weird.
well, the party that's in power now, the Democratic Party, I think they believe that by allowing more illegal immigrants to flood the country, if they can get out and vote, that they'll vote blue because it was the blue that allowed them into the country.
Yeah.
Well, like they can't vote.
But that's the argument. They're like, oh, illegal aliens can't vote.
But with
They
all the
can
lax,
if we don't say, hey, you need to have an ID to vote.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
I mean, how many people have passed away this year?
Yeah, you
Probably a
had
lot.
you had dead people voting.
So you can
had
just give out a
people
bunch
voting
of
twice.
dead names.
Like they
and
don't
dead
care
Social
who-
Security.
Yeah,
This is not good for our country.
and then on top of that, crime's gone up, and a lot of them are the people coming over the border.
There has been crime going down in some places across the
Oh,
country,
yeah.
but yes.
Yeah, there's always going to be a
Yeah.
a balance, but
The drug problem seems to be going up and up too, which makes you wonder how much fentanyl is coming across the border, because fentanyl can be so easily manufactured in a lab, and then they just, if we're just coming across the border, they're not searching anybody or doing anything to check to see who's possibly somebody that would be a mule bringing it across the border, and it's just flooding the country.
Well, I'm sure that if people are getting searched, what I think it is so there's these checkpoints along the southern border, right? And that's where a very large majority of people are coming through because they know that right now the United States has an open border. So it's kind of like opening a floodgate with overflowing waters. Even though you open the gate in one spot where a majority of the water can rush through, you're still going to have some spilling over on the sides. So while we're trying to contain the overflowing spots, we have so much personnel in those areas, there's not enough other personnel to patrol the rest of the border. So more and more illegal activities happening on in those blank areas.
yeah, there was I forgot who was talking about it, but they said in some stretches there's 1.5 miles of
Nothing.
one or zero.
Just
Patrol
absolutely
numbers.
nothing. You can easily get through that by
Yeah.
and just walk or run, and then you won't see.
Yeah,
a
look
person
left,
for-
nobody there, right, nobody there.
It's kind of wild. And then you got to think about just people on this side, of the border. I'm sure there's, hey, you get $5,000, meet us at these coordinates at this time. You're going to pick up 10 people. You're going to put them in the back of your van, and then you're just going to drive.
Yep.
And you're going to drop them off at this place. That's it. That's all you got to do. Don't worry about what happens to them. Don't worry how old they are. Don't worry that they don't speak. It's not your job. Just here's the money. Pick them up, drop them off. That's it. Scary shit, man.
Part of me still wonders if the whole thing is a part of a plot to destabilize America.
That's my honest opinion. Why else?
That's what seems to make the most sense.
It's just going to make everything harder to buy. We have more mouths to feed, more people than ever unemployed because of it. I do love how they try to talk about the unemployment numbers. Yeah, unemployed American citizens, but how many unemployed illegal immigrants now? At least 11 million? Cool. They have to eat, right? They have to go to the bathroom. They need
at the same
electricity.
Animals are mysteriously dying and crops are failing and
all this wild stuff. It feels like a destabilization plot for sure. I think we all know why. One world government, right?
I think that's for sure part of it. I think that's part of the reason why America has established so many military bases around the world, so that one world government can be all present. If there's a uprising anywhere, okay, cool, there's a military base nearby, we send them in to shut it down.
Yeah. If it was a one world government, I could definitely see like the United States being the independent police force of the one world government.
They would definitely try to.
I mean, we already are.
Yeah.
They would
But like
definitely
if
try to
it
use
was
our
a
army for
one
that.
world government, then absolutely it would be
Like we already play that role.
it would be no contest. So Very weird and scary things, for sure.
You guys ever heard of Yuri Bezmenov?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
His interview in 1984 was kind of chilling. I mean, he talks about kind of the state of America right now. He was a Russian defector who talked about a long-term plan to demoralize America in a slow process called ideological subversion or active measure, which is basically just a form of psychological warfare. And I got quite a few of his quotes and like the 4 stages of it right here on paper.
And in his interview, he was talking about it was a 50-year plan, but it accelerated to like a 30-year plan. 'cause
I think he said it
going
was
so well
I think he said it was a 15 to 20 year plan originally.
for like each stage. Like the demoralization takes an entire generation, so that's a 20-year plan.
I mean, we've already gone through about 3 generations
Yeah.
since 1984 in this interview. And his whole thing was to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to a sensible conclusion in the interest of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country.
Which is going to be so much harder with AI.
I think AI is definitely going to help with the destabilization because there's going to be so many uses for it to spread propaganda, especially when you can make it look like anyone is doing or saying anything.
Yeah, and even with AI just being there, it's going to be hard to distinguish what's reality and what's fiction, and it's going to give people a reason to just not believe anything.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with next generation graphics and graphic detail and design.
Well, like what you were just talking about before we started recording about the AI advertisements.
Yeah.
Those look like real fucking human beings.
Yeah, incredibly predatory.
That's
I can
already
definitely
terrifying.
see my like we always thought this was dumb when we were kids, but I can definitely see my parents falling victim to an AI scam in like 5 or 6 years.
Mhm.
Them being like, "Oh my god." I've already talked to my parents about this. I'm like, "If you ever get a phone call and it sounds like me asking you for something, call me back immediately and ask if it was me."
Mhm.
Because you can go online right now and you can read stories and you can watch videos of people talking about how somebody got a phone call from their niece talking about they needed $150 because they were stranded in a city,
Yep.
and it was a scam
Mhm.
because it is so easy to do. It's wild.
So that demoralization stage, which was stage 1 of what Yuri Bezmenov was talking about, when I read this, I feel like you can kind of clearly see that it's already happened pretty well in America. And in stage 1, they're programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern. You cannot change their mind even if you expose them to authentic information. Even if you prove that white is white and black is black, you can still not change the basic perception and the logic of behavior. Bezmenov says this demoralization process is irreversible. He goes on to say, as I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who is demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him a concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he receives a kick in his fan bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragedy of the situation of demoralization.
That's my favorite quote from Bezmenov because it's absolutely true. We've kind of seen this in sci-fi a couple of times. There was an episode of Next Generation with Jean-Luc Picard where he's being tortured by another civilization, a race. I don't remember the finer details, but they're trying to force him to accept like how many lights are there, and there's like 3 flashing lights, and he says no, there's 4, and he shocks them. We've seen these stories time and time again. This is kind of how like social manipulation works, and we've seen the memes where 2 + 2 = 5. If you're forced to accept that, you will just accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And we've actually done this with monkeys. I think we talked about it on another episode a couple weeks back, where they would have a group of monkeys and they would hang bananas from the ceiling. And every time a monkey went for it, they would spray them with a fire hose. And they kept doing that over and over and over and over till eventually they would take a monkey out of the cage, put a new monkey in that has not been exposed to such treatment, goes for the bananas, and then the other monkeys just beat the piss out of it and will eventually kill it because they know if you go for the bananas, this is what happens. They continually will pull another monkey out, put a new monkey in, pull another monkey out, put a new monkey in, eventually to where not a single of the original monkeys remain in the cage, and none of them know why they're beating the piss out of the other monkey.
And they just repeat the behavior.
They just do it. They just repeat the behavior because it's been
No,
passed
we
on.
haven't talked about this.
Oh, I swear I brought this
I
up.
think we were talking about it outside one day.
Yeah,
just
maybe
you, I, and
before.
I'll
Erica
have to,
before we actually started
Yeah,
recording.
Definitely didn't hear that.
But yeah, that's kind of like what Yuri Bezmenov is talking about with this long-term plan to destabilize America. Is it's going to take several generations because you beat things into the head of one generation, they're going to pass it down to the next, and within 4 or 5 generations, that's just going to be the truth or the way things are.
It's kind of like when that episode of SpongeBob where he walks up to Patrick and asks why he's mad. He says, "I don't know." Why are you mad? I don't know.
But yeah, well, the stage 2, once demoralization is completed, the second stage of ideological brainwashing is destabilization. During this 2 to 5 year period, Bezmenov asserted what matters is the targeting of essential structural elements of a nation: economy, foreign relations, and defense systems. Basically, the subverter, being Russia, would look to destabilize every one of those areas in the United States, considerably weakening it. And I feel like social media is definitely helping our enemies outside of the country do exactly this, because I know they have bot farms where they can just flood Facebook and Instagram and Twitter with all this false information, and it makes it hard to decipher what is true and what isn't. And to add AI into that, I think that's just going to make it even more difficult to decipher what's true and what's not, especially when the AI videos start getting shared. So the third stage of this, though, I haven't decided if we've seen this in America yet. The third stage would be crisis. It would take only up to 6 weeks to send a country into crisis, is what Bezmenov explained. This would bring a violent change of power, structure, and economy, and will be followed by the fourth and last stage, which is normalization. And that's when your country is basically taken over, living under a new ideology and reality. COVID very well could be it.
That's that's COVID to a T.
Yeah. But we've kind of bounced back from that.
We normalized it. We normalized the high prices and
for sure.
the additional power, and people don't even care anymore.
But we've been normalizing stuff like that for a long time. Patriot Act, we normalized them being allowed to spy on us. We've normalized having CIA spying devices in our pockets all the time. I mean, even things that I remember as a kid, we've normalized a lot of things that I don't feel should be or
but how
would
much
have ever been back in the
how much was that normalization beat into our heads during COVID? Because how often during COVID did you hear this is the new normal? How many times did the news say this is the new normal?
Yeah. And it was very weird how quick a lot of people, when it was Donald Trump's vaccine, oh, I'm not getting that. That'll kill me.
But
as soon as it came out, you're not vaccinated, you're not coming to my party, or you're a anti-vaxxer, you're one of them truthers. Or
what boggles my mind, though, is like so many people on the right side of the political spectrum probably would have taken that vaccine if Trump helped pushed it out.
He did. I mean, Operation Warp Speed. And
no, he's saying if he was still in power,
if Trump stayed
after the election, how many people on the right would have?
I feel like it would have been everyone on the left saying, "Oh, I'm not taking that vaccine. It's just to help get the pharmaceutical companies rich."
I wasn't getting it regardless of who.
Yeah, me neither.
Because as soon as it came out, I'm like, there ain't no way I'm taking some experimental.
Same way, I'm not taking an experimental drug that was rushed out in 6 months, and especially with the fact that we had information about where the virus came from and what was going on. And Yeah. Even when Donald Trump said Operation Warp Speed, I was like, this is not a good idea.
No.
We should not be rushing medicine like this. It's not good. I was a no-go from the start. I was like, nah, I'm a healthy young man. And then, when I ended up getting COVID, I was like, I don't need the vaccine now. My body, I caught it, so now I kind of have a defense against it. I don't see how a vaccine plus 14 boosters is going to help me at all.
How many boosters are they up to now?
I have no
It's
idea.
one per other month, one every 2 months. So what was that?
That doesn't sound like a vaccine. That sounds like
That's
you're being farmed.
you don't.
Sounds like you're being experimented on. Oh, let's see what this one
Flu
does.
shot you
Well-
get once a year. It doesn't make no sense.
Experimented in a psychological way.
Hmm.
That's what it seems like to me. Like if you have to go back once a year, twice a year, 3 times a year to get inoculated for something again and again and again, that then becomes a normalization in your life to where you're then going to the doctor to get this injected into you and you don't even realize why. After that, I kind of felt like, why did I get all those vaccines when I was a kid? Because my parents said I needed them, because the doctor said I needed them, because the government said I needed them.
But also, how many of those vaccines did you have to go back and get inoculated every few months?
Yeah. Oh, the fact that the definition of vaccine changed during the
Yeah.
pandemic, whew, that was right there. I think that was the moment I was like, nope. Vaccine doesn't mean vaccine anymore. No, thanks.
One of my big questions too was, how come people I know that got the vaccine, got 2 boosters, why were they sick with COVID more than me? I've had COVID.
I mean, a lot of the
Twice.
same numbers where it was almost no change.
Yeah.
Whether or not you had the vaccine, it was like the same rate of people getting sick.
I just know more people that were vaccinated that seem to be sick more or have COVID more than people who caught it and just had natural immunity.
And the thing that bugged me is the people who did get boosted and then got COVID and weren't that sick. They were like, "Oh, thank God I got vaccinated, or I could be dead right now."
I wasn't that sick the second time either.
It's like you'd probably you'd be the same.
Yep.
You'd
Probably.
be exactly the same because it doesn't do anything.
The first time I had it, it was 3 days. It was kind of rough.
Yeah, I
The
think I had
second-
it for 5 days. I only had
The
it
second
once.
time I
Really?
had it, it was like 24 hours. And what's weird
Right there,
is
that was mine both times. I was
Just one day.
straight in the bed for 24 hours straight, where you wake up to go to the bathroom, and as soon as you get up out of bed, you're just, holy shit.
I
And
had one day like that.
Yeah.
But I had 3 or 4 days before that to where I was just kind of lethargic. I didn't really want to move much, and it took like 2 or 3 weeks for my taste to come back. Did you lose your taste?
Oh, you had the whole shebang.
yeah.
No.
Yeah,
Like,
I couldn't
mine was
taste
literally-
anything except hot, like
Yeah,
hot sauce.
mine was literally down and out for 24 hours, and then I'm good to go 36 hours.
losing your taste is one of the worst when you're a big fan of flavor.
Well,
Sucks.
I didn't mind it at the same time because I can eat like broccoli and things that would make me throw up before
All the healthy stuff.
yeah, I ate vegetables in that time. So I'm like, it doesn't matter what I eat.
The second time I had COVID, like I thought I did something to my back painting, because it's when I was painting houses, and I thought because the day my back started hurting, I was up on the ladder and I was like up under a part of the house where I had to kind of lean and do some weird movements. And luckily I had a doctor's appointment the next day, and I went to the doctor. I was like, yeah, I think I did something to my back yesterday at work. I said, but now I've got a fever and I don't feel well. And he thought maybe I did like something that got infected in my spine. So did a couple tests, and then they called me the next day and they're like, oh yeah, you just got COVID. And it was like 24 hours. And after that, I kind of felt better. The strangest thing to me though, about the second time, the first time I had it, I couldn't even really smoke cigarettes. Like it fucked my lungs up the first time. I'm not going to lie. Like I was coughing just like nonstop. The second time it didn't affect my lungs like at all. It was just body aches, feeling very lethargic, like real tired, couldn't move. But because it didn't affect my lungs, I decided to still smoke weed. Didn't matter how much I smoked for like 3 to 5 days. Even when I was feeling like a little better, for like 3 to 5 days, I could not get high.
Really?
Doesn't matter how much I smoked. And then all of a sudden, like day 6 or whatever, I do a dab and I felt like I had gone like 2 weeks without smoking, and it tore me up. I was like, whoa. It was the weirdest thing ever that I could not get high.
It blocked your receptors.
That's
very
what I'm
strange.
guessing, that like somehow the THC couldn't get into my receptors.
Oh yeah. By the way, none of us are doctors. This is not medical advice. These are just our own personal opinions. It's kind of crazy that we have to actually say this, but don't take advice for us. Don't believe that because we're saying the vaccine is this or that. No, we're not doctors. We're not telling you what to do with your body or what medications you should use. None of that. Okay. We're just talking about our personal experiences and what we witnessed throughout all of whatever the blur that was. Okay.
Right. Seriously, would you trust your doctor if they looked like me? I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
If my doctor looked like me, I'd probably trust him. I don't look too bad.
I mean,
I definitely don't look like a
I don't
doctor.
trust doctors in general. They get kickbacks.
I wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't trust a doctor like you. Like if they had a weird mohawk, I'd be like, "What the hell?"
I got to agree with what Jesse just said about kickbacks, like for prescribing medication, right?
Yeah, they're not looking out for you. They're just trying to keep you alive so they can
Some
keep
of
lining
them.
their pockets.
Well, I had a doctor.
Not every single one. It's hard to find a good doctor, but when you do, man, keep them.
I had a doctor that, I asked him if he could refer me to some mental health specialists. This was back in 2018. I was going through a rough time. I just needed to talk to a therapist. And without asking me any further questions, trying to figure out what the problem was, when I just told him I'm going through a lot in my mind, I've been feeling really anxious, really depressed. The first thing he says to me before asking any questions about what's going on is, "Oh, do you want me to prescribe you antidepressants?" And it's like, how do you even know that depression is the issue? Maybe it's something else that's making me feel depressed. And come to find out, I just needed to talk to a therapist for a couple of years, sort some shit out in my head, and since then I've been feeling much better. I stopped going to therapy last June, and I've been able to deal with everything. It was just a rough time in my life. All I needed to do was just talk to a professional to help me sort shit out and organize my thoughts and emotions, and that's helped a lot better, especially when it's proven a lot of antidepressants don't actually help your quality of life. I'm not saying they don't help at all. There's some people that it's really helped their quality of life and helped them,
It can
get through things. But I know other instances of people that have gotten much worse, more suicidal, more depressed, more withdrawn from people around them, which causes more depression because now they're not getting human interaction. So,
Well, I think the key to antidepressants is so an antidepressant is kind of just like a painkiller, right? So it's there to stop your brain from receiving certain receptors. Like if you have major back pain, you take a painkiller to numb the pain so you don't feel it so you can continue. That doesn't make the problem better. Like if you have a broken rib and you just take Vicodin every day, that's not going to help the rib heal. So with antidepressants, the point I believe with antidepressants is to help you stay at least at a baseline while you try to dive into the bigger problem. And from my own personal experience with depression is you really do feel like you don't want to do anything to the point where you don't do anything. So the antidepressant is supposed to get you to a place where you will actually be like, fine, I'll go talk to my therapist and work on this.
So here's the issue, though, is when you have primary care physicians prescribing antidepressants to people who aren't even going to therapy to figure their shit out, now they're basically just pushing drugs.
Yeah. It's legal drug pushing, which
I think
that's
capitalism is,
I
been
think
a bad thing with.
I think what could easily in the future replace antidepressants is mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, microdosing on them twice a week. It's something you don't have to take every day, and it will literally do the same exact thing that antidepressants will. It'll make you feel more productive, more creative, more joyful to be alive.
And they're not addictive.
Not at all.
Is that 100%? Because I think any substance could be addictive.
Nope. You can't. You literally cannot get addicted to mushrooms or LSD. They build a tolerance so quickly you can't. Microdosing, you're able to microdose twice a week. But if you, like myself, were macrodosing, so if I were to take let's speak of LSD. If I were to take one hit tonight, tomorrow night to get the same effects, I would need to take 2. The night after that to get the same effects, I would need to take 4. The night after that, 8,
So you
then
just gotta
16,
double it up.
32, and it would get to a point you can't even afford to get addicted to it. And you also don't have that urge to want to keep doing it. The way that I trip, taking 2-3 hits at a time, like sometimes my experiences wear me out, and I have, big revelations to where I'm like, okay, I gotta, think about everything I went through last night for the next couple months, put it all into perspective and integrate it into my daily life before I'm ready to go again, which is why, once a month is the most I ever do it, but usually I only do it like 4 or 5 times a year. It's also way cheaper than a real world vacation. $20 to go on an 8-hour vacation in my mind compared to hundreds of dollars.
The problem I see with it, since the pharmaceutical industry and like marijuana in the United States, it's becoming legal. And I mean, I'm sure there's already places that have started, testing with things like this. With psilocybin mushrooms and other
California,
hallucinogenics.
somewhere on the West Coast already has.
So as technology keeps progressing, eventually I believe it'll get to the point where you'll be able to take a capsule a day and it will be just like any other over-the-counter substance. Like we have Aleve and ibuprofen now. 200 years ago, those were literally plants growing in the backyard, and you would have to use a pestle and grind them down, put them in a tea, and then you might feel better. These kinds of things will progress to that point, I think.
Well, most of the time they just chew on them. They just ingest it pure and you get the effect.
Yeah, but for some things it wouldn't work that way. Yeah, but you understand where now we have these giant pharmaceutical companies who are manufacturing it. I think if it does continue down this path, perhaps maybe there will be a company that mass produces some kind of pill that offers the same effect as psilocybin. And if it's legal, then doctors are going to get it, then the doctors are going to get kickbacks, and it's going to be pushed.
So I think the big issue also with something like psilocybin mushrooms is you can't patent it.
Sure,
you can't put a patent on the mushrooms.
Sure. But you can on a synthetic formula, or if you put this much psilocybin mixed with this much chamomile or something like that, you can patent a recipe.
Shit, at that point, you just get your own mushrooms and then go buy chamomile on its own.
Humans are
find your own mixture.
Humans are creatures of convenience.
Yeah,
If
we're
there's
lazy, I'm lazy.
yeah,
I hate
if
doing stuff.
just like ibuprofen in Wegmans, if there's a bottle that says psilocybin, all right, cool. I'm just gonna buy that instead of.
I don't know if you'll
waiting 3
ever.
months to-
I don't know if you'll ever see it over the counter. Just because somebody could buy a bottle and then eat the whole bottle to have a macro dose kind of trip. Go the Terrence McKenna route and eat 5 grams in silent darkness. Anything above 5 grams is wild. My highest dose is 10 grams, and I personally don't think there's any need to go above that. But
yeah. Wow, it's some hard segues today.
Yeah.
It seems like that every time. But
Yeah.
I think mental health definitely ties into the state of America, because I think there definitely is a mental health epidemic going on. COVID made it so much worse.
especially with it just being harder for everybody to afford anything and everything. I think one of the biggest gripes of Gen Z, the younger generation, Gen Z, and now who is it going to be?
Generation
Alpha?
Alpha's coming up after
Yeah.
them.
What I see and hear from them all the time is they don't want to work, because what is the point of working 60 hours a week to have an apartment that you literally never get to be? Like, what is the point? And I feel the same way.
And especially,
what is
too,
the
when they
point
can-
if
when
I
they can
don't
barely
get to
afford
have
that
a
apartment.
life? Yeah, like if I am working a majority of my time and my life to have things that I don't get to enjoy, just so it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I understand if I work hard, bootstraps and all, I totally get it. I used to have that mentality, but even I'm recognizing now things are getting a little out of control where this
You need 2 roommates.
the American dream is dying very quickly. You don't have the option to get married at 20, buy a house, have kids, and live a happy life. That's not an option anymore.
Yeah, you need to. It is, but you can't do that at an entry level job. You used to be able to in the 50s,
Used to.
60s, 70s. You could work at McDonald's, go to college, buy
Yeah.
a house by the time you're 30. But you can't do that anymore. You need like an engineering job, or you need to be at bare minimum store manager somewhere. And even then, I've seen videos where you're a store manager somewhere and you're living out of your car.
Yeah.
Honestly, the best bet right now, especially if you don't have like a fancy degree to get you a higher paying job, is honestly tipped jobs.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of people that are working tipped jobs complaining about not being able to get by.
Well, it depends on if they're paid minimum wage, because still some tip jobs, they can pay you $5 an hour.
I think New York State's
ridiculous.
minimum wage for tipped workers is like $9.25 or $9.75. So at least in New
That
York,
went up a lot.
so at least in New
I
York
think it's
State,
still $7.
I can look that
yeah,
up
let's
real
look it
quick
up. New York State minimum for what would it be under?
for tipped workers.
Which is
gratuitous job, something
why
like that.
is that even a thing? It's just for
I think it's something that companies, because tipping became a big thing in the United States.
well, they do it so they can pocket more money.
Yeah, it's so the companies didn't have to pay out as much
Yeah.
in labor while still getting like full labor production out of somebody. It's predatory, I believe. I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of countries
We're
that
the only
do
country
not
that does
believe.
that.
Yeah.
We're the only country that does that.
But also look at it, there really aren't a lot of people who work in those jobs that are complaining. Like a lot of them get tipped very well.
Yeah.
So it works out at the same time, but
Because you got mom and pop shops which are still paying them really well and they get good tips.
Yeah.
But you got large corporations, they'll pay you the bare minimum and
yeah.
a lot of
And
times
then you get tipped the bare minimum because you're working for a fast food corporation, and people think, oh, you're just fast food. Why do I need to tip you? You literally just made a pizza 5 seconds ago that you pulled out of a freezer and you dropped it off in my house. Cool. All right.
So this site's telling me it's $7.85 per hour
Yeah.
for
That-
tipped
that's-
workers
that
in New
sounds right.
York. That's still when you're
half-
making
that's
tips, it's
half
not too
New
bad.
York
That is
minimum
awful.
wage.
That's where honestly, like if you got a car and you want to make decent money, deliver pizza.
Been trying.
Yeah,
No place is looking.
like
Places aren't.
I get paid the $15 an hour minimum wage plus tips, and
Yeah, it's hard to beat like I don't does Pizza Hut deliver anymore? I don't.
I
Oh, yeah,
think they
they
do.
use third party stuff now.
okay.
But
A lot of companies
Papa
are
John's,
moving to that.
Domino's.
Papa John's was doing that, and it actually, at least the Papa John's around here, it didn't work out for them because now I see Papa John's cars driving around with the topper on.
Yeah.
Where before they were trying to use a third party app, and it didn't seem to be working out for them.
Yeah, because people aren't used to it. People
like-
aren't used to going to like Uber Eats or something and getting their order from there. Seems kind of
I like Papa John's. So where I
their
live
food is delicious.
in Southport, I called the Papa John's in Horseheads, and they were like, "As long as you tip the driver good, yeah, we'll deliver you some food." I'm like,
Damn.
"Wow, yeah, that's like what,
Damn.
9 miles?"
Yeah,
10 miles?
That's a 20-minute delivery.
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, dope, yeah." Anytime
Wow.
at least our Papa John's do. It might have just been the manager, it might have been a slow night, but he was like,
Maybe.
tip the driver like $10, and yeah, well, like they didn't ask for any more money.
I don't
or-
know if $10 would be worth that trip.
Probably, because they can't be that busy. Compared,
It's just the distance,
why not? You're
I'm
still
sure-
getting paid mileage.
Yeah,
you're
I'm
still
sure
getting
Papa
paid
John's also
hourly,
reimburses
and
miles.
you get a guaranteed $10 tip.
But if it's one delivery, right?
Yeah.
And if you think about the time from
It's going to be the
here
same
to
time
there.
as 2 deliveries, and that'd be the same as getting 2 $5 tips, which $5 is good. If you got $5 on average every single run, that's a good night.
If I got $5 every single run, there's nights I'd make $150 in just tips, not including gas mileage. Because
It's
there's nights I've taken 30, 35 deliveries in one night.
it's just the potential of like missing out. If you're on a delivery, a single delivery
I don't
for
like
35
potential.
minutes.
I like guaranteeds. A lot of people like guaranteeds. They like what's safe.
I get what
Yeah.
Russ is saying though, because like sometimes it's not worth going out to the tip of West Elmira on one of our deliveries, especially when the
Because
people.
you can take 3 runs in that.
Well, the
time.
people,
Exactly.
the people
That's-
in the
yeah.
Heights actually tip the best. They tip even better than people in West Elmira. There's a ton of places right in like a 1 to 2 mile area from the store, right there in the Heights, that tip $7 to $15.
I mean, they're probably barely able to afford their property tax at this point. Like
Ooh, West
the,
Elmira,
yeah, the
probably.
middle class, man. The middle class in America is just about gone. There was a study done, and I saw the numbers and heard about them yesterday. That right now in America, to be considered like middle class and somewhat comfortable,
It was like 150,000 a year. Or
yeah,
something like that.
you got to be earning
Yeah,
120 to
Jesus.
150,000
When it
dollars
used
a
to
year.
be 70, 80,000.
That's insane. That's insane. And it's crazy because I've been single for like 8 years, right? And I've been the only person ever paying for my bills for anything. I've never had help with anything. And I've been pretty comfortable. You know, I've been able to make ends meet for a long time, and it's been all right working a full-time job, but I've never had extra to do anything. But these last 3 years, bro, I want to strangle someone.
That's why you
Not
gotta-
literally.
you gotta
but
get a delivery
maybe
job.
myself.
A
I want to
mannequin.
strangle myself.
A lifelike
it is
mannequin.
so hard to buy anything, even food. This is insane. I've been eating dinner at my parents' for like the last month straight because I can't afford food.
You definitely got to get a delivery job then.
Bro, I've been
like-
looking and it's crazy. They're all taken.
Not
Like
to-
everybody realizes what's happening and nobody
they know that's
nobody's
where it's
leaving
at, is
their
the delivery jobs. Like, not to be braggadocious, but like just delivering pizza at Domino's. Erica's not working, so I'm paying all the bills. Just our gas, electric, and internet is $350 plus rent, plus my $250 or $258 a month car note, and it's like a little over $500 every 6 months for insurance, which I got to pay in March. I'm able to pay all of that, and I can still get food. We can still eat out. I can still put gas in my car to drive to a nature spot if I want to. Like, I guess it's the idea, like, work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, there's nights it can get stressful when it's crazy busy or somebody calls off and I'm having to run 5 deliveries at once. It can get a little hectic, but
Yeah, well, those are once every other
Yeah.
5-6 weeks.
But still, even
we
when
get a lot
it's-
of call offs at our
Oh,
place.
really?
So, yeah, it's
Used to not be like that.
not as many drivers.
Well, I
It
guess I'm
seems to
gonna
be-
fill out another application over there and be like, yeah, well, you need a delivery driver too. So,
She
you're like,
did-
well,
she
if
did
you don't
say she
even give
wasn't-
me an interview, then I'm gonna have to say that's discrimination.
She did say she wasn't going to hire another driver.
I
But
mean, if you
badly, they need an insider or two.
it's yeah, things right now.
Tell you what, man, if she hired you and Erica, it'd be the fucking dream team in there.
Yeah, all she has to do is treat us good. That's literally it. Just treat us like we're
She-
human beings.
She doesn't treat anybody badly.
No, she's,
That's all.
She's
Yeah.
always been
That's
good.
all I want. I just want to be treated like a human being.
And
That's
there's-
literally it.
And there's a couple people that are a little lazier, but there's a really nice teamwork factor up there compared to what I've heard from.
Yeah,
your
nobody
guys' store.
really complained up there about having to do anything. They might a little gripe or something, but everybody did what they.
So to hard seg, this presidential race. So it's down now to 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, 3 independents.
Who are the 3
Wait,
Democrats?
I thought it's just Nikki Haley and Trump. There's a third?
For the Republican. Yeah, apparently there's this guy named Binkley.
Oh, he's still in it.
I'm
have-
voting for him just because of the name Binkley.
Binkley?
Yeah,
Binkley?
like Ryan Binkley or something like that.
Yeah, that name
Bink-
you're never going to
Bink.
be. The Big Bink.
The
We're gonna
Big
call
Bink.
him
Hell
Bink.
yeah, that's it. We're
Bink,
just going
yeah.
to call him the Big Bink.
Yeah, so as we know, basically everybody dropped out of
So
the
funny.
Republican
He's like
primary.
0.1% or something like
Is
that.
he?
Yeah.
He
it's-
probably just doesn't want to drop out because
in
wants to
Iowa,
continue.
he got like 8 votes.
Not bad. Almost
Something
double
like that.
digits.
It might have been 10, but
So
Yep.
who are the 3 Democratic candidates?
So of course Biden. There's another woman, Marianne Williamson. She just recently actually went on to Timcast, which was really kind of enlightening to watch because they started showing her all these facts about things, and it was blowing her mind. So that was really good to watch. And this other dude, Phillips. Never seen him before. No idea.
Never
And then,
heard
of
him
course,
either.
the three independents. We have Kennedy.
Yeah, Kennedy.
Haven't heard anything
Yeah,
from him in months.
It's good. Yeah, he switched from Democratic to
Independent. Yeah. But even he should still have like donors in. But Colonel West, he's
Colonel Sanders.
Colonel West. He's kind of crazy looking. And then some woman named Stein. But
How about Vermin Supreme?
Yeah,
Is he
Vermin-
still in the race?
No, he hasn't
Verm?
ran since.
He ran in 2020.
Did he?
Yeah.
did he?
Oh yeah.
Did he actually?
Oh yeah. I'm
I thought
pretty
his
sure
last
he did.
one was 2016.
That's what I thought.
Because
But yeah,
he
he's
wasn't
not
he
running
like,
for
this is
2024.
my only shot. If Trump is running, then I actually have an opportunity here. I do know that Vermin Supreme crashed Ron DeSantis's one of his conferences. Like Ron DeSantis ended up being like 40 minutes late, and Vermin Supreme crashed it. That was pretty interesting.
Got a good one.
So I think all three of
Yeah,
us.
he did run in 2020,
Wow.
but his campaign ended during the 2020 Libertarian National Convention because he failed to win the nomination.
So I think it's safe to say
it-
all three of us.
It does say he's running again in 2024. I'm guessing under Libertarian.
Oh, he is running again.
Mm-hmm. I just can't wait to see that boot, man. I love the boot on his head. I love
Boot
it.
on his
I
head?
wonder if he's still going for a pony for every
Oh,
household.
I'm sure he is. Free pony.
Yeah, my dad had no idea who he was, and when I showed him a video, he loved him.
Of course he did. Because your dad's probably like, yeah, Polly, there's another motor show anyways.
So fill an ignorant person in on Nikki Haley because I really know like nothing about her except she wants to change the retirement age to like 70.
That was Holtrell, Kathy Holtrell.
No, that
No,
was
Haley.
Oh, that
Nikki
was Haley?
So I don't know a whole lot about her either.
She likes war.
Yeah.
Most
She
of them seem
was a UN ambassador. Damn. I don't know her whole political career, but one of her main accomplishments was she was a United Nations ambassador and then came back to the United States to be a congressman in South Carolina. Oh, where was the most? It's either South Dakota or South Carolina. But she has flip flopped on a bunch of her stances for different things. I don't know the names of her donors, but a lot of her donors have actually come from the Democratic Party and from warmongers on the right. So they're saying she's a major war hawk. She has praised the conflicts in Ukraine and in Israel, saying we're going to send our troops there and we're going to get this snuffed out, which is kind of a big red flag.
Yep.
She has also talked about she didn't make it very clear, so I'm going to give her a little bit of leeway, but she did say that she wants people to have to use a photo ID to use like social medias as to keep people like accountable for certain things, which
Probably an age thing too.
Yeah, I can kind of see that. Like,
That's probably her most understandable point that you've told me so far.
yeah, if you're going to be on a social media platform, especially if you're like a verified person or something,
Or something like Pornhub where you actually need an ID to get on there because there's a lot of
Yes.
parents that won't set parental controls on their
things
kids'
like
phones.
that. But the way she made it sound and what she was proposing is that she would then use that information against people. Like, we want you to have identification so that when you do something, we can come get you. And it's like, oh, how about no? And then she went back and then said she never said that. And there's millions of clips online where people are just like, yes, you did. And here's the clip.
Yeah, this is 2020.
I don't
The
understand.
2020s. We have video of everything that's ever happened ever.
It's
Well, in the last couple
I think
years.
it's because there's still like 25% of the people who do vote in our elections are still couch sitting TV watchers. So they can lie as much as they want, and those people are still going to just kind of believe the lie. And eventually,
not
with
everybody's
AI,
going to be able to.
Mhm. And
see the clips.
yeah, she's a no-go, man. She's
I mean, she has
absolutely not.
almost no.
She
10%
sounds like
or
a
something.
no-go.
Yeah.
Like
There's
it's
still
going
a
to be Trump versus whoever wins the Democratic.
I mean, if they succeed in like convicting Trump and then the Supreme Court says yes, he cannot run.
From what I've already seen, he's winning all of those. Like he's
Yeah.
going to be put back on the ballots,
Maybe.
and
But there was-
everything should be fine.
His most recent thing where he was now found liable for defamation against E. Jean Carroll. Oh boy. That woman. I don't understand how you can say that a man did something in the 90s and you don't remember when, how,
Oh, is
or
that the
why.
one where the dress didn't exist that she was wearing?
The dress doesn't exist. She doesn't remember the day or year, and there wasn't a single witness that saw her and literally the most famous man in New York City walk into one of the most famous department stores in
Yeah.
New York City.
Yeah.
And a lot of people liked, oh, he's now a convicted rapist. No, he wasn't convicted of rape. He was found liable of sexual assault. That's not a criminal conviction. And if you look up the statutes for such, you literally have no defense against that. He didn't have to, he wasn't given the opportunity to present a defense against the allegations because it wasn't a criminal trial. So the judge was able to say, no, you don't have a right to speak. We're just going to listen to her and then make a determination. So the fact that people are saying, oh, of course, they're using the language to then say he's not. He's not a convicted rapist. He was found liable for something that maybe he did in the 90s. I understand where you might think that, but this woman has gone on national TV and have made rape jokes. So someone who is raped is making rape jokes and saying women like to be raped. It's kind of weird, but whatever. But now he was just found liable for defamation after the court, and he's been ordered to pay, what is it, 84 million to her?
Oh, I don't know.
So just more court bullshit with Trump, more stuff that they're going to use against him in the campaign. Where
Do they think they're gonna bleed him dry? I mean, what is he worth? $7 billion?
They are definitely trying to bleed him dry because there's still the court cases here in New York where they're trying to take away his license to
Yeah.
even own a business.
Yep.
So they'll strip him of all of his properties here in New York.
I mean, he'll just sell them to somebody in the family,
I don't
or give them to
with the
him.
way they're pushing things against him with like lawfare, they won't allow it. Like he'll try to sell it to his son, and then they'll be like, "Oh, well, now we're going after your son because you've tried to do some legal loopholes." And I don't know, man. But
Just throw them all away.
like, I'm not the biggest fan of Trump. I was really hoping Vivek. I was really, really hoping for Vivek.
Yeah, but how often does somebody
first-timer?
Yeah, like a nobody. But
Well, Trump was not really
Well,
a
no,
nobody.
He
every-
wasn't a
Trump-
nobody, though.
yeah, he's been super famous since the 80s.
But just the way that it might be the narrative that I'm used to hearing and everything, but just the way the system is attacking Trump to get him out of this race means we need him. Why else?
There is
Why
something
else would
sketchy about it.
why else would a corrupt
Yeah, why
it's
would
a
they be
system
trying
that
this
we know.
hard?
Yeah, like we know the system is corrupt. They can tell us all these flowery stories they want. A majority of American citizens understand that there is corruption in our government and has gotten to the point
Yeah, it was
where
like
it's
68% or something.
Yeah,
Don't trust.
68 don't trust the United States government.
Yeah.
Especially after the Epstein thing and all this. If you're trying to take down somebody, a political opponent and leader who has amassed such a following and has done good for the country, nobody has given me a solid argument as to what he's really done terribly wrong other than his rhetoric.
We had somebody one of the somewhat regulars that goes to the shop, and we were kind of asking because everybody that's all the regulars are big Trump fans, or at least on the right, which is kind of shocking. But there's one person that comes, and everybody was asking him like, what don't you like about Trump? And
Most
couldn't
people
really
that
answer it.
most people that don't like
It's mean
Trump can't
tweets.
answer that question. It's he's racist, he's homophobic, he's xenophobic.
Yeah, they just have these buzzwords now.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
he's
then-
a convicted rapist. He says grab women by the pussy, and oh, he's a bigot and a racist and a homophobic and a transphobic and a Chinophobe. And it's like,
Why does
can you
Biden
articulate any of those though?
why does Biden not get called racist?
He has, but that's the thing.
People on the
It's-
left don't want to call him that.
Yeah,
But yet there's actual proof of him saying
Proof and
racist
evidence.
things where when you ask them to prove how Donald Trump is a racist, they can't.
They go to the Mexican thing, and
the-
that's it. But
The two
that was
clearest
That's not even a
super
thing.
out of context.
the two clearest examples of Biden are when he came out and said that Obama was the first ever clean cut, intelligent, well articulate,
Yeah.
mainstream black man.
I don't want my kids growing up in a racial jungle.
That's another one. And then what he said before the last election about if you vote for Trump, you ain't black.
Black kids are almost as what was it?
Poor kids are almost as smart as white kids.
It was
Or
something.
Poor kids are just as smart as white kids.
Yeah, I think that was,
Was it?
I think that's what
I
he
thought
said.
he was. Yeah.
I'll Google the quote real quick just
But
to
yes,
double check.
he
But I'm
has said
pretty sure
these
that's
things,
it.
and then it's just nothing but apologies for it, or because a lot of people don't see, because there is a very large population of American citizens who do sit down and just watch nightly news. Because nightly news doesn't pick up on these stories, it's like only not even half of the country is saying what we know to be true, but then because this other side is just like so brainwashed into watching a television.
So what he said was poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as
Bright
white
and
kids.
talented, yeah.
Now, when you say there's one side that's brainwashed into the television, what side do you mean?
Older generations.
Okay.
But
I thought you were
it's-
talking about
no,
one,
no, no.
one
So
side or the other,
it's-
the political spectrum.
So there is a large demographic of older individuals who kind of are on the internet here and there when they need to be, but people that just sit down and watch nightly news every night
Mm-hmm.
and they're only getting that one single narrative, you gotta break out of
And
it.
especially, too, because they either pick just CNN, just MSNBC, or just Fox News.
Exactly. Or
They don't watch
Newsmax,
both.
for sure.
Shout
You-
out to the boomers online, though, that take selfies for their profile pictures. A little side note, you boomers take the most hilarious selfies.
Oh, the
Love it. Yeah, it's always the same, man. Always
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same.
it's 'cause they don't understand it.
You're
But
cute.
it's you know,
They just don't understand angles when it comes to photography.
Yeah.
but it's just. But no,
I mean-
there's absolutely brainwashing on both what we consider the left and the right. There's absolutely there are people on the right who tell lies and obfuscate facts or tell outlandish stories for sure.
Yeah.
But it's far more prevalent on the left, and it's
Well, it's
like
because they just don't have the information. A lot of them they're never given the information that's correct. They're just an echo chamber of leftists.
So let me read this
I don't
quote.
know.
Let me read
I
this
have
quote
seen
from
some things where you will
'Cause
give
when we were
somebody
talking to-
information and they'll just be like, "Yo, can we meet in the middle on this?" Or somebody will
A lot
like
of
James
times-
Klug.
yeah,
He'll
a
be
lot of
like,
times they don't
"I will
wanna hear it."
show you the evidence," and people are just like, "No."
Yeah.
All
So
right.
let me read this quote from Yuri Bezmenov, another quote that I have. I don't know if either of you guys have heard this quote. It goes,
I've
don't
watched
even-
his interview.
I don't
It's-
even
So-
know who or maybe I did, and I'm not.
I'll send the
putting a
link to
name.
the
He was
message
He was
group,
a
but
Soviet Russian defector from the KGB. He was a secret operative who was assigned in the United States to help.
Who interviewed him.
I can't remember exactly who interviewed him, but this was one of his quotes and kind of ties into what we were talking to. He says, "The useful idiots, the leftists who are idealistically believing in the beauty of the Soviet socialist or communist or whatever system, when they get disillusioned, they become the worst enemies. That's why my KGB instructors specifically made the point, never bother with leftists. Forget about these political prostitutes. Aim higher. They serve a purpose only at the stage of destabilization of a nation. For example, your leftists in the United States, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize a nation. When their job is completed, they are not needed anymore. They know too much. Some of them, when they get disillusioned, when they see the Marxist-Leninists come to power, obviously they get offended. They think that that they think that they will come to power. That will never happen. Of course, they will be lined up against a wall and shot.
It's exactly what's happened in other Marxist revolutions.
I might have seen this.
One of the key things is you raise a generation to become revolutionaries. You have a revolution, and then you have to get rid of the revolutionaries because they know how to throw a revolution.
Was it Lex Friedman that interviewed him?
No, this was
No,
back in 1983 or 1984.
Oh,
Yeah, this
back,
was
oh,
years-
this was way
this
back
was
then.
years ago.
Okay.
No.
Oh, he was the old guy back then.
Yeah.
he was probably
like
in his 50s. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Oh,
This
because he was
shit's
part
crazy.
of the KGB in the
Yeah.
that would have been in the 40s, the old 30s. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I don't know if I've
before
seen
the
it then.
fall of
Yeah.
the USSR and everything. I think what was this show? Stranger Things. You've watched Stranger
Yeah.
Things. The
First 2
Russian
seasons.
scientist who decided he wanted to be an American because America was great. He was like, you Americans and your whatever. But then he started experiencing like American culture. I think that character is loosely based off of Yuri Bezmenov. Because I think that might have been what happened to Yuri. He came to America. He was brainwashed as a child and trained in KGB arts. Came over to America, and it was nothing what he was told it was going to be. And he was like, this is wrong. And then came forward. So, who knows? But there was a hint that Vivek might actually be Trump's VP. Honestly, if Vivek is Trump's VP, I don't see any way outside of nefarious means that Biden would win.
I don't understand how Biden could win again, period. I don't
Regardless of who he's
Exactly,
going up
I
against.
don't
Because of
understand
the
it.
Vote blue no matter who crowd.
That's
how.
so
Vote-
dangerous,
But
man.
what is it?
Yeah.
40% of Democrats don't like Biden or something like that.
I know there's
He
a,
only
it's
has
a,
like
it's
a
a high number. It's like
He
a
only
third.
has like a 32% approval rating
Yeah.
right now, and
that's terrible.
28.
there's still a lot of theories that he's going to get kicked out of the race or something's going to happen. He might get sick still, and then they'll be able to pull somebody else in.
I've heard so many theories. One is that somehow they're going to bring Michelle Obama into it, and
I've heard
that
that a couple times.
she'll
yeah.
get elected as the first ever woman president.
There's other people. So
How long do you have until when's the deadline to put your name into the race?
I have no
Don't
idea.
know.
But I think the Democratic Party, it doesn't matter. So if you willingly do it, there's a bunch of steps you have to do. But if an incumbent president, I'm not sure how this works, but I've heard people talking about it. If an incumbent president is up for a reelection, a second term, but cannot because of something happens, the party can then choose someone. They then have a democratic system that says, we're voting for this person, and then they have a vote for it, and look, Michelle Obama, so we're going to go to her and ask her if she wants to run. If she says yes, then boom, she's the runner.
How do you guys feel about the theory that there won't be a 2024 election?
It's possible.
Well, at least a fair one.
No, that there won't.
They might just
That there won't be one. Period.
Has it? I don't think it's ever happened in the United States before. So
It hasn't, but there was signed into law, I can't remember how long ago, that if America was in some kind of military conflict or like a state of emergency or civil unrest, that the sitting president can basically stay in power
until it's over.
until it's resolved.
if something like that were to happen, there would have to be such a massive propaganda campaign from all of media to spin a narrative as to why we have to keep Biden, because so many people are just unhappy with it. If that were to happen, if the left and the right both didn't get a chance for vindication over the election, I don't think there is a propaganda narrative that could keep things calm. I really don't. It would literally have to be nukes are dropping. Nukes are dropping on the United States right now. We cannot vote a new president. We have to stay with Biden.
And even then,
EMP attack.
Yeah, I think people would still be like, yo, I'm going to vote.
Yeah,
I don't know.
election
Can't
or
vote if there's
riot.
an EMP attack that takes out the whole communication
Paper
system.
ballots.
Paper ballots. We go right back to paper ballots.
Do you trust paper ballots?
I trust it way
More
more
than
than
electronic.
machines. That yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't know. It depends who's counting the ballots.
very true. But
I mean, there was a lot of paper mail-in ballots during the last election, and the last
No mail-in.
election seems
It should be
Let's-
same day paper ballot.
okay. That makes a little more sense than
Same
the,
day paper ballot.
But let's be completely honest. If there is a large enough EMP blast to like stifle the United States, we're not going to be worrying about who's going to be elected. We're going to be worrying about how I'm getting fucking water. to my
Everyone's going to be
apartment.
freaking out, and it's going to be just like the recent movie that came out, "Leave the World Behind," that the
Still got to see
that the Obamas helped produce. And it's a little unnerving knowing that they helped produce it, because it's almost like, what did they know that they were able to help the writers with? And one of the writers said
he
he
was
was
the
terrified,
president, so-
that he was terrified after working with the Obamas, because it was almost like they knew too much. And I feel like that movie and the other new movie coming out called Civil War, I feel like both of those movies are somehow very much predictive programming.
Well, for some reason, it made me think of this, but I know it was in a cartoon, but I think it's based on like really things that happen. Aren't there contingency plans that a president has to be made aware of in case certain things happen? Like there's contingencies in the United States for if China were to start invading, he then has a folder that says, okay,
the protocol.
we
to follow.
yeah, protocols, like protocol files and things like that.
They're already invading through the southern border.
Yeah. But it could have been something like that. Maybe Obama was going through these, saw one, and he was like, oh, wow, that's actually really interesting, and started like thinking things up. But I don't think Michelle wants to run. I don't think she would want to be involved in politics anymore. There's a couple of people who have said, like, talking with her, interviewing with her, and actually reading her book, she really had no interest in being in the White House at all. She felt it kind of like suffocating.
She
So-
felt it through her husband. She was like, damn, this motherfucker aged 20 years in 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I'm willing to have conversations with people who truly, truly, truly believe that Biden is capable or there's somebody other than Trump, but I haven't heard any of it. And just from Trump's track record, like I think he's the only person that could pull us out of what's going on right now.
The only people that really seem to think Biden is doing a good job are those exact people you were talking about that just sit home and watch the news
Yeah.
and don't get a lot of information from the internet.
Low information.
Low information voters.
That's
Yep.
what the Democrats feed on.
It is. And very good with like emotional blackmail and things like that. Even when a bad narrative does come up, they always find some way to try emotionally black. Oh, you don't care about what's happening in Gaza? Must mean you like to see Palestinian kids burning to death. What? No,
They
no.
love to gaslight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's like, who likes that?
who,
Na-
Nazis.
Evil people.
That's where you
like
just look at
Nazis.
them.
Truly evil
That's
people.
where you just look at them and say, yes, I do.
The fact that your brain can go to that means you've imagined that happening. So maybe you are telling on yourself that
Spin-
you like to see little kids burning.
Spin the narrative on them and just say, oh, you only want the Palestinians to win because you want to see Jewish kids burning.
They're brainwashed. They'll find some way in their
They'll
brain
just
to flip
they'll
it.
just
Yeah.
yell. They'll just
That's-
result to screaming.
Probably.
That is one of the most difficult things is like when you're a logical person and you try to actually have a conversation with somebody, if they are just so brain dead and washed up in a narrative, it doesn't matter. Their brain does whatever tricks it has to believe that they are right no matter what. They could say the most out, oh, these people in this country deserve to die because of XYZ. Well, I don't think any people deserve to die, and XYZ is why I think why, because of my moral standings. Why do you believe these people deserve to die? Because they're Nazis? How are they Nazis? Because they're Nazis?
It goes right back to this Yuri Bezmenov quote. They're programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern, and you cannot change their mind even if you expose them to authentic
Yeah,
information.
it's hard.
The shit is
It's
like
hard.
It's George Orwell's 1984. The shit is real.
Because
now.
sometimes when they're presented with it, they kind of sit there and they're like, wait, really? Like some of them just, they don't know.
I love watching videos where you can see the cognitive dissonance like sink into somebody when they're presented with information. There was
When
a
they
pretty,
just go silent because they can't even think of how to respond.
Yeah, their brain shuts off.
there was actually a pretty infamous one
Error.
from like 6 months ago or something. There was a video where people were debating on Twitch about statistics of black deaths in America, and it had to do with police on black crimes.
Oh, black people. I thought you meant like the plague.
No. So
I was like,
it
is that
was
coming back?
they were talking about it, and they were having back and forth conversation, and somebody asked, how many people do you believe died in 2018? How many black people do you believe were killed by the police in 2018? And this dude straight up said 10,000. And then they brought up the facts, and they were like 18. And he was like, how about 1,000?
Yeah, I
How
remember
about
that.
1,000?
Yeah, he was trying to.
He was like, nah, bro, it's 18. He was like, now how about 100? How about we say 100? This dude could not
How
about we
wrap
say the
his
facts?
mind around the fact that it was 18.
Yeah.
And he was like, how about we come to an agreement where it's an egregious amount that I'm okay with?
Yeah.
No, it's 18.
Bro.
Those are the facts.
And
I think the
listening
reason
to that was like, fucking blew my mind.
I think the reason why he probably feels it so much more is because when it does happen, the news
huge.
blows it out of freaking
but it's
proportion.
rare. It's actually really rare. It's
Like
very
when-
rare.
When people talk about
It's so rare that it gets television
When-
news. If it was normally happening, it wouldn't be on the news.
when people talk about Trump being divisive for the country, I usually tell them, no, the news is divisive. The news made Trump more divisive. The news is divisive to the country with or without even bringing up a president.
I don't know.
the
His
way-
tweets were pretty mean sometimes.
And they might be mean, but I feel like there's nothing more divisive to the country than the news stations because they're always pushing some kind of narrative. It's like, I don't know if you've ever heard the song Fourth Branch by Immortal Technique.
Have no.
Oh, it's basically where
You'll have to send it to group or
he's
something.
basically just talking about how the media is like the fourth branch of the government that's used to push
Oh,
propaganda.
it absolutely is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Good song.
for many, many years, independent news organizations were a threat to the U.S. government in their plans to make America the greatest country on the planet and the strongest and the heavily most militarized. If you did not take control of those organizations, it couldn't keep its power. So yeah, it's going to be the same thing. Like when the internet first came out, we experienced this growing up. The internet was a free place where you could literally watch and do whatever you wanted on the internet. And then the government started dipping its toes and fingers everywhere into the internet. And now we have FBI and CIA devices in our pocket with access to the internet at all times.
Yeah,
So
and
no matter
that-
what, the government is going to want its fingers dipped into something.
yeah, because I don't
it-
remember back in the day when you would Google something. Now, once in a while, if you Google something and you go, 50,
It
scroll
used to
down-
be most viewed.
Well, no, it'll say due to something policies, this was removed from the Google search or something like that.
That still happens every once in a while.
Oh no, yeah, I see it, but I don't remember seeing that back.
Back in the
20
day?
years
No.
ago.
Yeah, and Google used to be the most viewed sites would go to the top, and now it's approved.
Yeah,
It's the most approved sites.
I think that's one thing people don't question about Google is I don't think they realize that or have thought about that Google has a monopoly on information.
yeah.
You don't think that
90%
they're controlling
of searches are through Google.
Yeah, you
or
don't think they're
85, something
controlling
like that?
what's getting out there and what's being searched and what people are reading?
And
I
the
100% think they do.
And the problem with that centralized power is now there's no competition to it. So when, say, the United States government wants to dip its fingers into it, it only has to go to one place to do it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And then once that one company is under, this is kind of the point. This is the reason why we have or should have free market capitalism in this country. The more competition there is, the less likely there is for the government to be able to stick its creepy fingers into everything.
Yeah, it'd be harder.
Because
it'd be harder
yeah,
for them to. You know.
it's easier to convince one CEO at one giant mega corporation to do what you want it to do than it is 25,000 spread across 3,000 square miles of space. It's the same thing with we used to have hundreds and hundreds of game manufacturers. Now you've seen the acquisition. Microsoft bought Activision. We've got these giant businesses that are just gobbling up everything. Why do you think they're doing that?
I mean, look at
they
Disney.
have enough money.
Disney owns Hulu and they own ESPN, and that's why you can bundle the three of them together as a streaming package.
And when you do that, when Disney becomes this giant oligarchical company that controls all, like 90% of the media, it's only going to take like one person to be convinced at the board at Disney to, hey, this isn't correct for our government. This isn't politically correct. You need to correct this.
There was a guy on a podcast recently talking about how Disney needs to take action against ESPN, or ESPN needs to take action against the UFC for things that the former middleweight champ Sean Strickland was saying. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to anything Sean Strickland said.
Oh, yeah.
He is completely unfiltered. And he had a shirt on or something that said women belong in the kitchen because he knew he'd get a rise out of it. And I think the dude on the podcast, I think his name is Dan Lebatard or something like that. But him and this other dude were just going off about how Disney needs to do something to hold them accountable or to put an end to that kind of behavior. And I don't think they realize Dana White doesn't give a fuck. When you ask Dana White about it, he says it's free speech. They can say what they want.
On Theo Von. He was on like a month ago.
Sean Strickland?
No, Dana White.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that one. Yeah.
It was a good episode.
Sean Strickland was on there. Sean Strickland was on there recently. I didn't know Dana White was. I'm going to have to go watch that one.
Yeah, it was. It might have been 2 months
I don't think Theo is human. I really don't think Theo's human. The thing is, I never know if Theo's acting and trying to be funny or if that's just how the dude is.
It's just how he is.
He's fucking hilarious all the time. It's like he doesn't even have to try. Just he opens his mouth and funny shit comes out.
I mean, it's because of the life that he had. That's his cope. You know, he copes with his humor, and he's just naturally funny. And he's had to learn to grow to be that way.
Oh, that's Yuri right there?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen it. I'm gonna have to watch that later.
So
It's a
interesting interview.
Kind of chilling interview. Like the more you listen to it, the more you're gonna be like, yeah, we're kind of there in the United States,
which is crazy. Again, I think I've mentioned this a couple times, but like, how many? Each generation has probably had something similar to this right now, where there's people sitting down thinking, oh, this is the worst. This is what we're noticing. Things are happening. Is this going to be the same thing? Like, are we just overreacting? Are we just being reactionary? Are we truly experiencing like something once in a lifetime? Because that does happen, you know, like in the 40s, for the first time in human history, we wiped out millions of people in the blink of an eye by dropping 2 bombs. So people lived through that. I don't know. Some crazy shit might happen. Some crazy shit might not happen. We might just be a fucking entertainment platform for alien civilizations because we're just stupid monkeys on a blue ball in the middle of nowhere.
That's if there's even alien civilizations out there. It's like the Great Filter. It's like the Great Filter theory that. So I was reading an article about it yesterday, actually, that if we were to find evidence of like microscopic life or single-celled or small multi-cell organisms on Mars, that would actually be bad news for us. It would only be good news if we were actually able to find more advanced civilizations out there. And that means basically what that's saying is like, if there's more advanced than us, then we've made it past the Great Filter. Where if there's only like smaller organisms, it's kind of more terrifying because the Great Filter of the cosmos or of the universe is in our future, and that they're not exactly sure what that Great Filter is, but there's some ideas that, you know, beings like us get to a certain point of technological
And then we destroy
advancement,
ourselves.
and we destroy ourselves and have to start over again.
There's a couple of theories behind that though, with the filter, and that's the Fermi's paradox. Yeah, that we brought
The
up
great
before.
filter ties into the
Yeah.
Fermi paradox.
So
It's possible there's multiple great filters out there, depending on each
Yeah.
stage of technical or technological evolution we get to.
Or what
So-
kind of path
Mhm.
that civilization
yeah,
takes.
the different theorized levels of civilization. There could be. So our planet is presumed to be several billion.
It's Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 billion, something like that. 4 billion years, and life started.
That's what stupid people say.
Right. But that's the theory of
only
it. Or
10,000.
the birth of the galaxy is only 13 billion years. So if there was just another civilization or species of creature anywhere in our known universe that was 10 to 20,000 years older, we would have no idea. We would literally have no idea if they existed, because they would have technology so advanced. They would be able to cruise the galaxy. They would know what a black hole is. They
What
would
if-
probably
Well,
know how to
that's
harness a black hole.
That's even if they have the material to do so.
Right. There's always the chance that their planet is unlucky and they didn't have that kind of.
Yeah, they don't have
Or-
the minerals or
Right.
chemicals.
Or
and
they
stuff.
had other minerals that we don't have access to. They could have, where we have found internal combustion, right? They could have been on a planet where they had some kind of material where they could do external explosion or implosion, or they could have had materials on their planet that was so superconductive that it just skyrocketed their electronics in their technology. Or it could be so many different things. But I think if there were interstellar civilizations out there, or creatures, aliens of any kind, we would have no idea unless they wanted us to know.
Well, maybe our ancient ancestors actually did have an idea, especially some of the depictions from multiple different cultures around the globe where they're all kind of depicting the same thing. The idea of the Anunnaki, those from which the heavens came. What if the earth was destroyed once and somehow these beings came down and helped reshape society in a way, or helped to repopulate the earth using some of their own DNA, or
Things that we will probably be very long gone before these are ever answered. So
and it's also too, I don't know if you ever heard of the Dogon tribe. The Dogon tribe knew about Sirius B and Sirius C before scientists did. They said that there's these stars. There was another star besides Sirius A, Sirius B, and they knew about it long before scientists ever found
I
it.
think I know what you're talking about. It's
Mhm.
it's like a South African tribe or something.
Somewhere
that-
in Africa, and they said the sky people came down and told them where they were from.
Yeah.
It's just interesting. A tribe that has no technological advancements knew about a star in the sky that you cannot see with the visible eye before scientists ever discovered it.
Yeah.
To me, that's not possible unless there was some beings that really came from there that told them that's where they were from.
Well, there's also depictions in ancient markings from like Aztec and Egyptian markings of our solar system, and it had all the planets, but our current civilization did not discover. Is Neptune the last one?
Pluto was, and then they
Was
said
a planet,
Pluto
but it's
wasn't a
not.
planet, so
But-
fuck them.
Neptune wasn't discovered until like the
think it was
1970s.
I thought it was late 1800s. Let's find out.
Yeah, it was definitely 1800s.
Was it the 18?
Yeah,
I just remember seeing people on
because I think
TikTok
Pluto
and
was
stuff.
like 1910. Or
September
1900.
23rd, 1846 was when they discovered Neptune.
What about Pluto?
Let's find out.
I want to say. It
I
was like
can't believe that. I
1900.
don't remember in which order are
Pluto was February 18th, 1930.
1930.
But it had to deal with.
1930.
So it had to deal with like. What's the last planet in our solar system?
Neptune.
Is it Neptune?
If you don't count Pluto.
Then what?
Before that's Uranus.
I don't- I
Uranus
guess-
was discovered in 1781.
1781.
Oh, just
Maybe I'm just-
Google when
I'm
Earth was
misremembering.
discovered, and we'll know how old it is.
I'm just misremembering it then. But either way, these civilizations that are thousands of years long gone, and we didn't know about them until advanced mathematics and theories in the 1700s. So,
Both Mars
they
and
were doing
Jupiter
something.
were discovered in 1610 by Galileo.
Mars?
Galileo.
You can
Galileo
see it quite
Figaro.
easy.
You can?
Mars? Yeah.
Right, but they probably used to think it was a star.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, before they actually knew it was
But
a
it's,
planet.
Yeah, it's bigger than.
I think it's cool that Mars has
Yeah,
two
maybe
moons.
Maybe they just thought it was a real bright star.
Probably. Well, I mean, they probably thought a lot of things were very weird in our sky.
Yeah. Oh, because that's when we
Venus-
started getting really good telescopes.
Venus
like
was
the-
also
1600s or
1610.
Got things we got. Oh, yeah. I remembered, then I forgot, and then I just remembered.
Mercury.
The James Webb Telescope. There haven't been many stories about it, but it might have actually found a planet with what looks like, from our understanding of what lights look like on a planet from our own space photographs, it looks like this planet might actually have like city lights on it.
Interesting.
But there's still not a. There's only been like
They could just be giant fireflies.
good. Well,
That's more
that's
than
still
likely.
alien life.
Huh?
It's still alien life.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's crazy.
You would not believe your eyes if 10
It
million
could just be 10 million
fireflies
fireflies.
Could
were
be
discovered by the
10 million
James Webb
fireflies.
Telescope.
I think if 10 million fireflies were putting off that much electricity, they might burn each other. That might be too hot. It might be too hot. Oh, I think we're all set for today, but
Yeah, we can wrap it up.
vote for Trump. Like, it's,
Just vote with your mind.
That's
like
what I was gonna say.
use
Yeah.
use your mind to think logically to place your vote.
Realistically, just vote anybody but Biden. I mean, because if you vote
Yeah.
Biden, you either don't care or you're stupid.
You're just
Or
brainwashed
you're
to
evil.
the whole blue no matter who.
yeah.
But I also
Play
don't
those
like the
scenarios.
opposite
Bro,
of the
when I see
red until
people-
dead.
Yes,
I don't like
same
that
thing.
either, yeah.
Same thing. Whenever I see either of them,
Yeah, it's
you are so dumb. Like you're willing to vote in Hitler.
Hmm.
Oh, blue no matter who. So if Adolf Hitler was alive today and had blue on his coat, you would vote for him because he's not Donald Trump.
Yeah,
Are
vote
you-
for who.
Stupid.
Well, most people when they vote, they don't even know any of the policies. They don't even know who it is.
That was actually one of
That's
the
how
scary.
I feel when I'm voting local politics. I feel like I don't know how to find out what my local politicians are running on.
Well, they don't want normal people voting. But that's actually one of the scary things about politics is one of the major driving factors for female politics is, are they handsome? Is the candidate
That's
a
why
good-looking
Trudeau.
man? Do
That's
they
why
have a
Trudeau
good-
was voted in.
Yeah, that's really scary to think. Personally, I've been seeing a lot of debates about whether or not
Women should be
Ev-
allowed to vote.
no, just like all U.S. citizens. I'm actually kind of driving towards like, no, I
Oh.
don't think all U.S. citizens
Should
should
be
have the
able
right
to
to
vote.
vote.
You have to go through some kind of test.
Yes.
Or at least be able to say who you're voting for, what they do, like what
think-
they're about.
I think there should be, yes, like that. There
Yeah.
should be a civil examination where
Yeah.
you actually have to be involved in politics in some way or another, not just, oh, I liked his smile. That's why democracy doesn't work, you idiot.
He's
Why it
got a
doesn't
nice
work.
ass. He's getting my vote.
Yeah. Oh, when he smiles, he's charming. Bro, they said the same thing about Che Guevara. He had a nice smile, and then he killed 1 million gay people. What is wrong with you? It's wild.
Just vote for him, Supreme.
I'm with it.
realistically.
I want my
Just
fucking pony.
everybody, write him in,
I want my pony.
get him elected. That'd be so wild.
If
That would
everybody
probably
gotta-
be the most shocking thing to ever happen in the history of the world.
But how
in the
would
world.
how would he give everybody a pony?
He'll figure
He
it out.
doesn't really believe that. He is a kid. Like you've seen his videos and stuff, right?
He's a walking, talking meme.
I've
Yeah,
seen
he-
him once. He has like the boot on his head.
Yeah,
and he
it's
has,
a
like, the
character he puts
crazy
on.
old-
Dude's super smart. Like the dude
Yeah.
is super
Well, he has
smart.
to be.
You got to
If
be
he-
smart to put on a character like that.
For the requirements to be considered as an electoral candidate, it's actually pretty absurd. So the fact that he's able to and as actually on the ballot, yeah, he's got to be smart. So I would never be able to like Larry Elder was talking about it the other day how strict and severe it is to be a candidate. It doesn't seem like fun
Well,
at
if you're
all.
for the Libertarian Party, it's not as hard, right?
I'm sure it's not.
It's-
Yeah, there's probably certain stipulations for the two main parties, but
Yeah.
the fact that we've only ever had two parties win, that definitely needs to stop. That needs to end.
Did we ever have a third party candidate win anywhere? Well, in a major, or has it always been Democrat, Republican? I don't know if the Libertarians ever won, or somebody just right in the middle.
So let's see. Has a libertarian ever won an election?
Well, I mean, you could technically say yes because
I'm
there
sure-
weren't political parties when the country was first founded. So George Washington, he wasn't a Democrat.
But
or
libertarian
Republican.
also wouldn't have been a party, so you can't consider it a libertarian
Yeah,
winning.
you would have to go back and see what his rhetoric was and see where he would align.
To today's standards, he was probably a raving lunatic Republican. So,
Probably.
I mean, just think of the stories about George Washington. He was a 6'3" redheaded maniac who crossed a river on Christmas to slaughter people. So he was, and 6'3" back then, man was a beast.
Yeah.
He was gigantic. So
Considering back then the average height was 4 or 5 inches. It was like 5'3" for men. 5'3" or 5'4".
yeah, it was not tall. Five
Would've been
independent presidents who won in U.S. history. If you think launching an independent president
5.
campaign, full era, blah blah blah.
I mean, it
blah,
was
blah.
probably. Wow, that's surprising. I thought
Consider
maybe
the impact Ralph Nader, Ross Perot, and others like them have had on the electoral process.
So it looks like there's one libertarian member in the lower chambers seats in the state senate. I'm trying to find out who that is and what state it is. It just says right here.
Which that's not bad, Senator.
Theodore Roosevelt. He ran as a progressive, which I guess was different from Democrat and Republican.
Nowadays, progressive would just fall under the Democratic side.
Yeah.
George Wallace was an independent,
Who?
which he didn't win, but he had a surprising amount of support.
Okay.
Anderson, 7% of the popular vote. It's not saying that they won, but that they had an impact on it. So I don't think there's ever
So
been.
some did well, but
Yeah.
no one truly in the middle has ever.
Which is very strange that there really are just A and B, red and blue.
That's why we got to push for Vermin. America has become a joke, so why not have a joke president? Although
Yeah,
Biden,
because I
can-
think
he
it would-
does have a zombie defense.
Biden,
Program
yeah, he's
too.
the only candidate with the
Yeah.
zombie defense program or zombie preparedness program.
Yeah.
I don't know. New
How
York
can you
has
not-
implemented one.
how
When
can
we
you not
bury
vote for
people
that?
in
Yeah,
caskets,
they-
they're also buried in like cement boxes.
Yeah, they probably stole part of the idea from Vermin's plan. They were like, man, this Vermin guy's onto something with the
Played
zombie apocalypse.
I don't know. If we voted in a meme candidate, it would break too much of the facade. Where the people who are into like political narration are there just as part of the show. They're there to make it seem more fantastic or
Interesting. I just learned this about the Libertarian Party. You know how left and right use the elephant and the donkey?
Yeah.
Do you want to know what the Libertarians is?
Oh, I don't remember.
Isn't it a dog?
It's a porcupine.
Oh,
I have seen the porcupine. Yeah.
And it's because the porcupine is used to represent libertarianism because it is a defensive animal that doesn't harm anyone who leaves it alone.
Okay.
That's true.
It's kind of falls under that live and let live philosophy.
Yeah, but live and let live has gone a little too out of control.
It can, for sure. When one person that wants to live doesn't want others to live or tries to
Yeah.
force control onto other people that are living.
Or their actions are so egregious where they use the live and let live excuse and then say, if you don't let them, I don't know, walk around the streets naked in front of children, that you're a bigot, that's a little too far. That's too much. That is not a live and let live scenario. That is a put that away or I'm going to go grab the miniature guillotine. No, I'm not. Of course, I'm not advocating for violence.
Guillotine for your fingers?
Yes. Yes. But no, I'm not advocating for violence. Would never. Things like that are just disturbing. Very disturbing.
There's a lot of disturbing things in America. Maybe that can be another episode instead of the state of America. Disturbing things happening in the country.
And then we would have to do an episode on the good things in America.
Which
episode will be
short
longer?
episode.
Well, it depends.
Be like,
Would
like
we
12 minutes.
would we
And half
like,
of it would be us
go
trying to
back through?
figure out what is good.
I mean, a free market society is pretty good because it does, cause a lot of innovation happens in a free market society. So,
I think we should do a whole episode on Florida Man. We all find our favorite Florida Man stories and bring them to the table.
it would basically
Florida,
be
yeah, just Florida
any
stories.
it would be any story that they've added to GTA 6.
Florida Man is like the greatest mythical creature ever. Whenever you read a news headline that says
Yeah.
that starts with Florida Man, you're like, "Oh, this is going to be good."
And some of them are like, well, yeah, that's just Florida.
He made Crocs out of the crocodile that ate his dog.
It's like he brought his pet crocodile to a drive-through and it jumped in. It jumped it. Yeah, that just happens in Florida. What are we talking about?
Typical day.
I think it's because of the heat. The heat makes people go a little crazy down there.
It's possible.
Well, if that was the case, it would make anybody with the same, anybody living in the same
No, because
environment crazy.
Florida's a lot more humid too,
yeah.
though. So maybe the
Have you ever
humidity
seen
has something to
stories
do
about
with it.
Louisiana? It's kind of wild.
Well, that's because they're all voodoo witch doctors. down there. They just
And
they eat people's
Florida
hearts.
is nothing but wet, hot lizards just trying to eat dogs. So
Oh no! Now they got the python issue.
They got lizard people down there.
I say lizard people.
No,
No, you just said lizards.
that's all.
The real problem is the python issue. People that got pythons as pets, and then those
they
pets
just-
got out or they let them
Oh,
go.
Yeah.
They get too big, so they
They're
let 'em out.
they're dealing with a huge problem of giant, like 15, 16 foot pythons that are quite invasive in destroying some of the wildlife habitats. They're like just
Which is wild
eating
because
people's
a
cats.
snake doesn't have to eat, but like every 4 or 5 days. So
Yeah, but when you got
like
when you got a bunch of them slithering
if
around,
they have to, yeah, when you got a bunch of them, especially if like they get to mating and everything, like if 2 people let out different pythons, for sure. Ugh. I say screw it, and we just start bringing anacondas up here to Florida. See what happens. What could go wrong?
To kill the pythons.
No, just for shits and giggles.
Oh, aren't they already
oh,
there?
what would happen is you
Anacondas? I don't
Yeah.
know.
what would happen is you'd see Florida Man on
Riding
video
an anaconda
trying to
through
wrangle
Denny's parking
trying to
lot.
wrangle
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Or you'd see Florida Man having his pet gator fight somebody else's pet anaconda.
Perfect. Sounds fucking awesome. For some reason, that made me think of
Pokemon.
no. This is completely off, different, out of nowhere. But you guys remember when like what was it?
BattleBots
Is it
or
BattleBots?
Metabots?
It's not a
The real life thing where they
Yeah.
BattleBots
BattleBots.
where they make a
So
robot and they fight them.
yeah.
I love that show.
It is.
You know
so
they brought that
good.
back.
Yes.
It's on YouTube.
It's
sick.
very good. But now over in the East, Asian countries, they have started implementing like drone controls into them. And I've seen a couple of prototypes. There's like one with 4 legs, right? So it can actually stand with a humanoid torso with a samurai sword. And this dude is just wearing the thing on his stomach, and it actually senses his rotations. So he's actually got a little robot doing like katana swings. It's getting a little crazy. It's gonna be wild. Yo,
They have
we're
been fighting or just
prototypes.
testing like what it.
Prototype testing.
Oh, so a couple of years.
A couple of years, we're gonna have legitimate like heated metal sword little robots swinging
With
katanas at each
bullets
other.
on them, and they explode when they hit them.
It's gonna be
that's
so
gonna be cool.
It's gonna be good. Yeah, I think our kids' kids, if everything goes well, are gonna have some of the best entertainment ever.
I'd say 20 years we'll be able to be
Yeah, our kids'
in
kids.
in VR. I mean, we'll still be able to do it.
Yeah, but if we can know that we're still in VR, that is not going to compare to like watching 2 robots fight to the death. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
You know, that'll be like straight human carnal instinct is just watching one thing get destroyed by another. Hugh Jackman did a movie with that, right?
Real Steel.
Yeah, that was really good.
Never heard of it.
Oh, it's
good.
Rock'em Sock'em Robots,
Yeah.
but for adults. It's fucking awesome.
They build
Such a good
robots.
movie.
They build robots and then have them fight in a stadium.
It's very, very good. It's very good. And it's VR.
I mean, we kind of already got something like that, but the robots are very tiny and they don't resemble anything human-like.
They are starting to. Like I was just telling
Well,
Jesse,
the
they're starting
competitions they have where the
Yeah.
bots are battling, they're almost like remote-controlled, like little
BattleBots.
car-type things. Yeah.
No, but like I was just telling Jesse, the new prototypes that the East is starting to come out with, they're getting very, very good.
Yeah, it's because they're actually teaching kids robotics in middle school there.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. And we're not. We're worried about pronouns. Jeez.
And on that note, we can probably wrap it up for the day.
Yeah. What are we at?
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, this episode was all over the place.
Was.
Just like the state of America.
Yeah, I mean, which episode isn't? I mean, they all kind of seem. When we have guests, they usually don't go off too crazy. But yeah, I thought it was a good conversation.
I think it's the combination of ADHD and ADD over here. So
For sure.
we'll over time we'll tighten it up.
Yeah,
For
yeah,
sure.
I can But yeah, like, comment, share, subscribe, get on the show. We need some guests. We're lacking.
Yeah.
But we've had some good ones, but
We want to talk to some teachers, like science teachers,
getting-
and like
getting like a
professor
like
from
an
like Corning
ex
Community.
teacher would be good, so they don't have to worry about whether or not they're gonna get fired for if the video got out, like somebody that just retired or something. That would be absolutely perfect.
That would be a little more
Actually,
ideal,
yeah,
so
maybe-
they wouldn't be so afraid to talk about things.
maybe we should try to look for somebody that
Where would we
retired
start, though?
recently. Maybe teachers that we had when we were growing up. See if any of them are on Facebook or something. Or
But they're the crazy mega boomers that everybody hates now.
not all of them.
Yeah,
Some of
yeah,
them,
right.
but
Yeah, like, share, comment, subscribe. Let us know how you like our new intro and outro. Yeah,
They're solid.
That'll be next
They're
Thursday.
solid.
They're good.
I'm gonna keep working.
I was
on
kind of
them,
I was kind of surprised.
I'm gonna keep working on them.
I honestly don't know if they need any more work. They're pretty
Nah,
solid for
I'm
now.
gonna find. I'm gonna do some.
It's as good as it can get.
That's never the case.
I think they're pretty solid. And I think
Yeah.
once you got a good one,
It'll
why-
probably take
why
about
switch it
4
up?
years to make a better one.
Well, I better get started now. All right, everybody. We had fun. Have a good one.
Goodbye, goodbye.
You stole it from me.
I thought you were going to do it in unison with me. I saw you get ready, and I was
Oh,
like,
let's
"Oh
do it.
man,
Let's do it.
Let's
Let's do it.
Let's do it." Goodbye, goodbye.